Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started then. So thank you everybody for joining. This month's Lunch and Learn is going to focus on testing and plans.
Angela, you muted yourself.
Sorry, I always do that. Okay, sorry, I will back up. So this month's Lunch and Learn is focusing on testing and plans. So the agenda for today, we'll start with the results from the development roadmap survey that we sent out last month. Enhancements and corrections since last month's Lunch and Learn. The initial launch of roster, creating workflows from within a scenario or test script, and then the best way to use the issue list if you're the person that's running the show.
You muted yourself again, Ange.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure how that keeps happening. So thank you to everybody who took the time to fill in the survey for us. Based on your results, the winner for which advancement we were going to work on is roster. And so for rosters, that's the ability to have you indicate the positions and the activities that you're going to be completing when you're signing on and working inside TransIT. The second place winner was automated emails. So the ability to have TransIT send automated emails when you have test steps up during a round of testing, when there's activities that you have that are due from a plan, and when there are issues that have been assigned to you. So the enhancements that have gone into TransIT are first, we added the ability to change the assigned resource under the find and replace option that's available under the edit activities icon in plans. We added the ability to expand the section for the current filters that are on in plans after you click the edit activities icon. The column totals that are at the top of the filters and plans are now links for you to look at the activities. We added a summary pie chart icon to the plans page. And by clicking in the pie chart, you'll be able to have it filter for you. We've added this same kind of filtering to the pie chart that's available in the test summary. We updated the logic for the overdue activities to start for 8 a.m. instead of 12 a.m. where they currently were, and that's for a task that there was no time assigned. We've added the ability to copy plans between organizations for Make Solutions and partner resources that we have. The More Actions link, which is the number link along the left-hand side from the activities page, now has an icon available in it that can show you the last user who edited a plan. And we added the ability to add and remove attachments to activities in a plan. And then, as I said, the initial release of rosters. So I'm just going to switch into TransIT for a second here, just to quickly show some of the things that I've mentioned. So the ability to change the the assigned resource using the find and replace option. So under plans, I will click into a plan. And so let's say that for some of these actions, some of these activities here, this user, Iris Silver, is no longer with the organization. So I want to change anything that was assigned to her to the person who is replacing her. Oops. I can select anything that has Iris Silver in it, and then click this Edit Activities icon in the top bar here. And when I do that, I can select this Find and Replace option. So if I click that box, I type what was currently in the field, and then I can type whatever I want to replace it with. And click Submit. And then you can see that the two that I had selected to change from Iris Silver has now been changed to Iris Platinum. The column totals, so what that's referring to is if I, if I was to select a bunch of options here, select some of the column filters, I'll just select with the status filters here and then click here. So back to the edit icon. You can see, this is the expanded option. So the expanded filters, if I was to click this, it's going to expand out all the filters that I had selected. Then the column totals for the top of in plans. So if I take a step back out and go into plans rather than into a specific plan, it's these column totals here. So if I want to filter to see all of the plans that have all have steps that are in progress, and I just want to see the in progress steps, I can click this link here. And then it's filtered for me to show all of these steps that are currently in progress across all of the different plans. I'll go back out. The pie chart icon that I'd mentioned is this icon here. So under the plans, if I click this icon here, it gives me this pie chart here and outlines all of the different, looking at all the different plans, the number that are not started, late, complete, etc. And so if I want to filter to see all of the activities that are currently late, I can click the late sliver of the pie, and it's filtered to show me a full list of all of the activities that are currently late across all of the different plans. So the same kind of idea is available now within testing. So in testing, we always had the pie charts available under your summary here. And so now these pie slivers from the pie chart here will work the same way. So if I was to click and see only all of the new notes by status, it takes me out to my test report and shows me all of those applicable options. So then we added the ability to copy plans between partners. I won't show that because that's only applicable to certain users. I'll go back to plans for a second here. And I'll remove this. And I'll go back into my plan. The more actions link is this number link that's along the side here. And so when I click this icon here, the number here, you can see that this icon was added. If I hover my cursor over that, it's going to give me this icon, and it'll tell me who was the last user who updated this particular activity and the date and time. And that just helps to keep track. If something was changed accidentally, then you know who the last person was, and you can see why they changed that activity. So attachments can be added to activities. So also under this link, I can click the attachments link here. I can browse my files to add an attachment, and then I can click upload. And then you can see that this attachment icon was added here. And so if I was to click this, it'll open my attachment for me. If by chance you realize that you've attached, let's say, the wrong icon, you need to make sure that before you remove the icon, you refresh your screen. And so then if you're wanting to remove the attachment from the activity, you'll click the link here. Click the attachments link again, and then it's just this X icon that will remove the attachment for you. And then you can click close to finish out. And so the last enhancement that was added was rosters, and so I'll be going into that a little bit later. So back to the PowerPoint here. So since last month, the corrections that have gone into place, the details have now been fixed to be retained. So if you're creating a workflow from inside a scenario, it wasn't retaining all the details that were added. So that has now been fixed. Only an admin or a user can remove an assignment from the rosters page for that specific user. So again, I'll show that when we get under rosters. We resolved the issue with the date appearing in the assigned column for an activity. Dependencies are now being retained when you create a copy of a plan. So it wasn't retaining that particular information, but that is now working. We've resolved the issue with the date appearing in the inside column of the activities. And now when you copy a plan, it retains all of the activity details properly. So rosters. Rosters is the ability to have the user indicate what position they're going to be signing on to complete steps for testing, and then also the activities that they're going to be completing when anytime they're signed into TransIT. So this is brand new functionality that's available. It's not something that you need to change your license for. If you're interested in having rosters turned on for your organization, you just need to send us an email at support@MakeSolutions Inc., and we'll make sure to have that turned on for you. You can have it turned on for plans, for test rounds, or for both, whichever works better for you. So again, I'm going to go back out into TransIT. So in the top right corner here where my name is, there's an icon that's been added here. So right now, unless you have roster turned on, you won't see this icon. But as soon as it's turned on, you'll be able to click this icon here. And that's going to take you to the user roster page. So looking at the top section here, you can click to say whether or not you want to receive emails by just clicking that box there. You'll complete the send email to. So by default, this is going to default to the email address that you have set for your login information. But if there's a reason why you need to change the email that you want to receive notifications to, let's say for some reason you need it to go to a second email, the personal email, whatever the case is, you can change this field here to be whatever email address it is that you want. The contact number, obviously, whatever number you want people to be able to reach you at. You can then indicate whether or not you want people to be able to send you text messages. And then it says your phone's email address. So I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but everybody's phone has an email address that's attached to it. And so what your phone's email address is going to be is your phone number plus whatever your carrier has assigned as your specific ending for your email address. So if you are with Rogers, for example, the Rogers email address would be your phone number at pcs.rogers.com. And so you can find this information easily by just Googling to see what the email address is that's attached to your particular carrier. Then your roster status. So your status will be whatever you're signed on to be completing at the particular time. So I can say I'm demoing at the moment. So I can have my status say that, so that if people are looking for me, they can see that, oh, she's currently demoing at the moment. But if, let's say, you're signed on and you're going to be participating in a round of testing, you may want to say that you're signed on for testing. Whatever information you have completed in this top section here, you'll complete it and then you'll click save. I'm going to go back into my roster to cover the rest of the information. So this information down here at the bottom, as soon as I add, information is going to automatically retain, so I don't need another save. Save is just going to apply to any of the fields that are above the save button there. So for plans specifically, so let's say I'm signed on and I'm completing activities, and I'm going to be completing all of the activities for myself, but I also am going to be completing for other people. So I'm currently signed in just as our demo admin user. But so I've said that I'm covering for myself, I'm covering for Angela, anything assigned to Angela Gray, and I'm going to cover for anything that's assigned to Patty. Let's say she's off today, and so I'm assisting. So I can just select whoever from the organization who I'm going to be covering for. And as soon as I select an option from this list, it's going to automatically list that person under the field here. If I want to remove someone, it's just a simple click to remove them. And so that all applies to plans. And then for testing, you can indicate what positions you're covering for testing. So let's say I'm responsible for ED. So I have the ED, MD, and EDRN selected as the position that I'm going to be covering for testing, but I can select any of the positions that are currently available in the build for your organization. You can also say what specific products and applications you're going to be completing. So if you're covering for a particular product altogether, so I'm covering all of FirstNet, you might as well select the product rather than selecting all of the individual applications under that product. Okay. So then to look at looks from, oh, sorry, before I move on, I'll show, if you click this icon here, so I've said that I am going to be currently completing any activities that are assigned to myself and these three. If I click this icon here, it takes me out to my plan search window and shows me all of the activities that are currently assigned to myself and to the people who I indicated that I'm currently covering for. If I want to go out to testing and see what roster looks like from a testing perspective, You can see that I click testing and I'm on the test execution page. If I click the view roster icon from there, it takes me out and it looks at the full list of users who are currently participating for that round of testing. You can see that it's got their contact information. So let's say a particular script is not moving forward and you know that the person or that the steps that are up are for FarmNet, you can come here and I can see, okay, this Eileen Black is currently supposed to be working on steps for FarmNet, so I can contact her either by phone or by email to say, hey, you've got steps up for testing. And so this just helps people be able to communicate with each other to make sure that, especially with a lot of people working in a remote environment now, just helps to make sure that you're keeping things moving forward. So let's say you're participating in testing, but you've stepped away to go to lunch. You can change your status to say that you're at lunch until 2. And that way, if anybody's looking for you, they can come to this list and they can see, oh, okay, the reason why she's not responding is because she's currently away at lunch. From a plans perspective, you can see that the plans icon is displayed beside all the plans that you have it turned on for. So if I was to click that icon, oh, sorry, that's not the one I want. I can see, based on everybody who's included in the plan, the number of activities that each person is responsible for. So again, all of their contact information is listed here based on what's filled out in rosters. And for myself, so this is me here, I'm the demo admin. Only someone who is an admin or a user, they can remove. So let's say I'm no longer going to be looking at anything that's assigned to Patty. I can just remove saying that I'm covering for her now. Let's say she's back. So I can remove it saying that I'm covering for her. And now it just shows that I only have 4 activities that are assigned to me and that I'm also covering for Angela Gray. Okay, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. So this is just a few of the different email formats for some of the major carriers out there. So as I mentioned, this is what we've got for Rogers, but depending on who you're with, these are just a few of the different options that they have for email format. Creating workflows from test scripts. So we still see some clients that are uploading the same scripts over and over again, rather than after you've uploaded a script, using that, reusing that information and turning it into reusable information. I also find when I'm doing work with clients and when I'm using our reusable content in TransIT, sometimes I'll be working through something like a power plan or a power node, and I'll realize I've put all the pieces together, but these are actually really good workflow. And so once they're inside your scenario, you can use the selecting multiple feature and create your workflow from inside TransIT. So if I go to my scenarios here, and I'm going to go into this scenario here. Oops. And so let's say when I was building my when I was building out my scenario, I individually put all the pieces in for completing the ED triage power form. But as soon as I've got everything completed, I realized, you know what, that's likely a workflow that I'm going to use over and over again. So rather than having to individually piece together all of the pieces inside a scenario again, and rather than doing it at the workflow level, sometimes it's easier to do it from a scenario level. So if I want to create a workflow from inside my scenario, so I'm at the scenario steps here, I can use the arrows that are along the side and select all of the pieces that I want to include in my workflow. So I've used my black arrows, and now I'm going to select create workflow. And when I do that, it then takes me to the new workflow page, and then I can give my workflow a name. Whatever you decide you want to name your workflow. You can indicate the vendor, so I know that these are Cerner tasks. You can select the facilities that you want the workflow created for. And so then it tells me that there's 14 tasks total that are included in the workflow, and I click save. And when I do that, you can see that it looks exactly as it would if I had created the workflow from scratch. So it took all of the information that I had saved under my scenario and brought it into the workflows page. So if I click details here, you can see that all the steps that were previously in the scenario are now also inside this workflow. And so anytime I go to complete the ED triage for a scenario, instead of inserting all the steps separately, I can just bring in this workflow, and it's going to bring in all of this information. So because this was in a scenario for a specific patient, I'll probably want to delete all of the patient-specific information here. But you can see how it saves me a lot of time from having to type out some of the information that's constant. So let's say every time I'm going to need to take the blood pressure and the peripheral pulse, so I can just leave those fields there and delete all of the information that was in there that was specific to that patient I was on. So that's what it looks like for doing it for a scenario that was created using TransIT reusable tasks. But you can do the same, and we certainly encourage you to do the same when you're uploading your scripts from Excel. So if I look at this scenario here, and I look at, let's say, the first chunk here, and I realize, you know what, this is actually a good workflow that's probably going to need to be reused. I can do the same thing. So use my arrows, select everything that I want to select, and create workflow. I can't. So again, complete all the information same way you would anytime that you're documenting a new workflow. So in this particular case, because this came into TransIT as an upload, there's only a single task that's included inside the workflow. So some might say, okay, well then what's the point in creating it as a workflow? So the reason for that is if we look at it and look at what the steps actually are, probably it makes more sense to actually start breaking some of these pieces up. So when you look at this, you can say, okay, well, some of this probably exists as content out there already, but you can make it so that it becomes reusable, and you can change out some of these fields too. Instead of having it say enter specific information, you can delete some of that and make it details fields. And so that would be a way that you can start to build up your reusable content so that you're not just uploading information from Excel over and over into TransIT. Okay, so the issue list. So the best way to work through your issue list, if you are the person who's currently responsible for running the show, if I go to my issue list here, this our recommendation. So I'm going to go to our organization issues. So our recommendation for the fastest way to work through your issue list is to first sort by priority. So what we've done is because the priority field it's sorted based on alphabetical order, we've added a number in front of the name of all of the different priorities, so that when I click the priorities header option, it sorts by priority. So that brings obviously the most important issues to the top. After sorting by priority, you can then use the minus out filter to close it anything that's, or to remove anything that's been closed out and just or resolved, and just focus on the issues that are still currently open. And that's the best way to work through things that are of highest importance to you. If you don't have your priorities listed with a number ahead of the priority name, how you would go to the person who's responsible for your org settings would go to org settings and change that under your priorities. And if you're not entirely sure how to do that, you can certainly contact us at support@makeSolutionsInc.com. And then what else you can do is you can open issues in additional tabs. So if you right click on the issue title and select the open link in a new tab, you can have multiple issues opened on the same window. And so then you can complete whatever you need to complete to close out the issue. I'm going to you can change whatever information that you want to change and then click save. And when you click save, it takes you back to the issue list and you can close out from all of those issues. So that would just be, again, another fast way to work through all of the issues that you currently have open, either for your organization as a whole or for a round of testing. Okay, and back to the PowerPoint. And so the last piece that that I had to show you was the activities. And actually, I believe I did show this already, but just as a reminder, if you're wanting to add an attachment to a activity, you can click into your plan. And this feature is a little bit hidden because it lives under the more actions link that's along the side here. So if you click the more actions link, you search for your attachment. Attach whatever screenshot you want to attach. And then click upload. And then you can see that attachment was added to your activity. And so again, if you're needing to remove it, your screen does need to be refreshed if it hadn't already been refreshed. And then you're able to remove the attachment if you no longer need that attachment attached. So that was everything that we were covering for this month's Lunch and Learn. So the one thing that we wanted to know was we were thinking about having the roster page be the opening page for when you first sign on to TransIT. So as soon as you sign on, the first thing that you're required to do is list out what you're currently doing inside TransIT, and that just helps to have everybody kind of keep track about who's doing what inside TransIT. And so we want to know whether or not this was something that you thought would be good to have it be your first kind of opening screen. And so if you wouldn't mind commenting inside the chat whether or not you think that that would be a good feature. Or you could also, of course, email us at support@makeSolutionsInc.com. And we always encourage that if you have any suggestions for what future topics we could cover at our next Lunch and Learn, then we'd love for you to email us. But does anybody have any questions about anything that we covered today?
Hey, Ange, the only thing I was going to add is that although in the roster you can fill out your email address and your text of your phone number and all those things, I just wanted everybody to realize that the automated emails isn't available yet. So the only use for it right now is so that other people can get a hold of you. We're hoping our anticipated release date for automated messaging is December.
Thank you. Okay, if nobody has any questions, then we can go ahead and sign off. So thank you, everybody, and happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Thanks.